here to tell me that I'm hitting the record button. So welcome everybody. Lily and I, excuse me, Lily and I are playing tag team on this Tuesday night phone call. I tapped out 2 weeks ago, and then we were together last week, and she has some things going on this week, and I told her, I got this, I can manage this phone call. So please go handle the issues that you need to handle, and she will be back next week when we are going to be talking about something really amazing and fascinating. We're going to be, oh, that's right, shame, blame, and guilt. Woo, that'll be a powerful one. So welcome everyone to the 8th Chakra Company and the Tuesday night call. This is the Healing Humanity series that we're doing. It's a little different tonight because it is just me that is here, and we're going to see how much fun this can be to do a phone call here talking about unworthiness. Man, you want to talk about unworthiness. I'm like, oh no, can I do this? Can I actually manage this program by myself? Let's go ahead and be totally entertained by the fact that we are talking about unworthiness. And this phone call, this program, this Tuesday night call is the flagship product of the 8th Chakra Company. We created this more than 2 years ago, Lily and I did, and it is our flagship. It is the thing that we are most excited about. What we love to do is to be out in the community and talking to people about the conversations that are most important to them, the everyday conversations, how do I get more information? How do I access more of my information? What is accessing my own information even? And so we love doing it. We gift it to everyone who listens. It is available for everyone to pop in, so you can please let all your friends know what an amazing, what an amazing program it is. And I'm just going to sit here and play with all the video stuff here. It's so much fun. Let everybody know about this series. It is absolutely amazing. So Lily and I co-founded the 8th Chakra Company with the purpose of helping all of us master what it is to be human. We truly believe that we already know how to be spiritual, that we spend most of our time being spiritual. And it's only when we come into an incarnation that we're kind of like, oh, what's going on here? What is this body thing? And how do I manage, what is going on in this body and those relationships and working and all of those kinds of normal everyday conversations that we are talking about. And so we love to have these everyday conversations and put them in a spiritual context so that we understand what is going on. That is what we are doing here. I do want to let you all know that both Lily and I'm going to keep referencing her like she is here because both of us are expert Akashic Record readers, and we open the Akashic Records before we start this program every week. And we use that information, the information we get from the masters, teachers, and loved ones, to have these conversations and bring in some wisdom and some new perspectives on the conversation that we're talking about. So tonight we are talking about unworthiness. And for the first time, I actually spent about a half an hour just listening to my soul, listening to my masters, teachers, and loved ones, and giving me a lot of information. So I am very excited about being able to have this conversation here with you. The other thing about Lily and I that makes us very unique and different is that we are both master level alchemists. We practice alchemy, which is, we are able to take high frequencies and bring them in to alchemize or transmute low frequencies, of which unworthiness is one of them. We've been talking about a whole bunch of them for the last couple of weeks. So we do this mastery alchemy for the benefit of everybody who is on the call and everybody who ever listens to the program. That's one of the things that is particularly wonderful about what we do, is because you don't have to be on the call tonight, you can actually listen to it tomorrow or next week or in 3 years, and all of the alchemy, all of the healing, all of the wisdom is transferable, so to speak. It actually will continue to help you long after the program is over. So it's really fun because I'm like, oh, here's my little cheat sheet. I'm probably not supposed to tell you that, but I heard Lily tells you things, told you things last time that she didn't want me to ever hear. So we usually go back and forth, and it's kind of interesting for me to just be in charge of everything and let you know everything that is going on. So here's some of what makes us different, what makes our calls very different from anything else that you might experience out there in the world of YouTube or anywhere on the internet, on Facebook. First of all, we work intimately with the angelic realm and with the Akashic realm, with masters in the Akashic realm, with all of the members of the angelic realm. And we do this really to bring in some really high frequencies, some really unique wisdom that you will not hear in other forums. We always want to bring unique and different conversations and information in for all of you. Who needs to be like everybody else, right? So we do work closely with the angelic realm and the Akashic realm for that purpose. As I said just a few minutes ago, we actually opened the Akashic records for the 8th Chakra community before we start this phone call. And the purpose is for us to bring, once again, unique and particular information about the topic, and to really be able to bring you great information, give you more wisdom, give you more healing. And that is our purpose. The third reason why this call is a whole lot different than any other one is that we always set an intention for every single phone call. And we really want to bring some more knowing and some more wisdom and some more healing around unworthiness. As we will talk about in just a few minutes, unworthiness is one of the big low frequencies that exist here on the planet. It is something that does not serve us at all. This idea of us playing small does not work for any of us. And the more that we can move those low frequencies out, the more that we can step into what I'm going to say is the truth of who we are, that we are really here to be everything that we're supposed to be. We're really here to be bigger and more expansive and do some amazing things here on the planet. But those low frequencies sometimes get in the way. So my intention tonight is to, one, get through the entire hour, helping you get some more information and helping you get some more healing around unworthiness. But it's also for you to have some remembrance of who you are, something dropping in and clicking in for you to be like, oh my gosh, I am a little bit bigger than what I thought I was. I am capable of a little bit more than I thought I was before the phone call. So I am setting that intention for everybody that joins us here live and in person, but everybody who listens after this program is long over. So I certainly hope that you will be willing to pass it on to some other people. The impact that we are looking to have is ginormous. And it really starts with you all doing this, and then somebody else doing this, and then somebody else doing this beyond it. So that's 3 of the things that makes us a little bit different. Here's how this call is going to work. So normally we have Lily and I going back and forth and having a conversation, and we really encourage you to pop in, to jump in and participate in the conversation. Obviously, I want you even more so now to jump in and participate, so you don't have to listen to me for an entire hour. I do Facebook Live every week on Monday mornings, and I can talk for a solid half an hour, but that whole you're going to put me on the spot for another half an hour, I could use your help. So this is what we're going to do. The first half an hour, we're going to have a conversation. We're going to have another conversation for about 30 minutes. And how you can participate is if you drag your mouse down to the chat. I don't have it, my handy dandy phone links here, but if you drop your cursor down to the chat, you can click on the chat and you can write a message, and I will be happy to read that and have a conversation with you that way. I'm really good about having those kinds of chats. But you can also raise your hand, and that would be if you go to the manage participants list. If you do the participant and you go over to your own name, you can actually raise your hand, and then I'd be happy to turn you on. Wow. I'd be happy to give you the microphone and allow you to have a conversation with me. What I'm looking for is if you have some of your own unworthiness issues that maybe you want to share, or you have a question about how unworthiness shows up in your life, or there is some healing that you would like to have done. We're going to do tonight just a tad bit different because it is just me, and so I am happy to do some healing for individual people. If you have some of those things that you would like to have done tonight, it's an extra special evening. And then what we're going to do in the second half of the phone call, probably the last 20 minutes or so, what we're going to do is I'm going to bring in some wisdom. I have some very specific information that has come into me. We're going to talk a little bit about baseball and hitting home runs. We're going to talk about how these frequencies can be shifted and moved so that we can really get a lot more out of our lives. And isn't that what we all really want anyway? So there is definitely going to be some healing going on. There's already been some downloads of information that have come in, and some frequencies that have come in for you all to be able to start having more clarity and more awareness, more openness to the conversation, more possibility that you do not have to be stuck in those low frequencies that we all get stuck in, right? So let's go ahead and start the conversation. I do want to let you guys know that actually this morning I was on a ship, I was on vacation, and so there is nothing more entertaining than going from being on vacation to being totally responsible for holding the space for hundreds of people that will eventually listen to this recording, and being in a clear head and being like, all right, we're on this, let's get on this. So I'm sure you all are going to give me a little bit of a break, but I am so excited because that's where I really want to start this conversation about unworthiness, because, you know, the size of us, the information that I was getting earlier is that the size of us compared to the size of a ship, and I was on a fairly big ship this weekend, it's kind of the idea that they really want us to look at, like, we think that we're these itty bitty tiny beings, that we are here doing something, you know, basically just having a life. We're here having an experience. And if you're anything like me, for the longest time, I thought that's what I was doing. I was here having just an experience. I was a girl that, you know, went to school, went to college, you know, met the love of my life, got married, had children, that I was just kind of having this normal life. And that is absolutely true of all of us. But what is also true is that we are these brilliant beings of light. We are these divine sparks that are here having an experience. And when we are not in bodies, we are like doing the most amazing things. We are out in the cosmos, creating planets and floating around and healing and doing all sorts of very cool things in the cosmos. And we just get into these bodies and we think we're like these small people, like we're just literally small people that are just here having a bodily experience. And this unworthiness, this sense of being small, is something that we have been for a very long time, not just in this lifetime, but lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. It is something that when we were born, we were handed this book that said, here's how you are a human, and there is a chapter in the book marked unworthiness, and this is how you do this unworthiness thing. This is how you play small, you play safe, you don't get noticed, you stay tiny so that you don't have to worry that something is going to happen to you. And basically what we are now doing is we're kind of throwing the book out. We're like, okay, enough of that playing small, enough of that playing safe. Not that I expect you to run out and do something wild and crazy that is going to really, put you in the hospital or put you 6 feet under. But we want to start moving those frequencies out, those things that are causing us pain and fear and really making us think that we're small. We want to move those things out so that we can feel better and really accomplish what we are here to do in our life. So I'm really tired of hearing myself speak, so I really want to open it up for some conversation. Here's what I'd like to know. I'm opening up to, you can talk about anything you want, but here's my starter conversation. The unworthiness keeps us in a state of being small. It keeps us thinking that we're tiny, and it really shows up in every area of our life. It shows up in our careers. Maybe that is a place where, you're like, you could really do more, make more money, do something really significant, but you're not sure that you're capable of doing it in a career. It keeps us small in our intimate relationships. We figure that, that we're not as amazing as our significant other, that we aren't as beautiful as somebody else. There's all these different ways that we are keeping ourselves small in our intimate relationships, in our family relationships, in our friendships. And so my question to you is, where do you find yourself being small? What shows up for you that is a way that you are like, I don't know if I can do this. I'm not sure if I'm capable of this. Where is it that you find yourself being most unworthy? It's a really interesting question, and I actually asked it of myself. And most often where I find myself being unworthy is right here in this kind of forum. I know, it's really hard to believe, right? Right here in this forum. And one of the most common things that I hear people say to me is, oh, you've got this stuff down. You just go and you do it and you talk and it comes so easy to you. And they're absolutely compliments, and I absolutely appreciate them. Tell me more, for sure. But also it's a place where I can put up a facade, right? I can put up this image. This is what's expected of me. If I don't get on this call tonight and have this conversation with you, you're not going to notice it. You might be like, oh, I'm really bummed there wasn't a Tuesday night call. But it is going to be, it is an opportunity for me to step up and really grow into who I'm really here to be, and for me to really step into the space of, can I do this? And so even though you all can't see me, I'm like sitting here playing with my nails and I'm going in my head, what's next? Am I doing it right? Did I say all of that stuff? Was that good enough? God, what if people think that I'm not as good as Lily? Or I'm never going to tune in again because, of something that I said or did. It is really can be a nerve-wracking place to be inside my head. I would invite you in, but there's really not much room. So where is it that you see unworthiness show up the most? I know there are a couple people who are professional musicians that are on the call tonight. So I'm curious, is that someplace where you find yourself getting, feeling very small, feeling unsure that you can do everything that you are here to do? Let me go ahead and unmute you, Robin. Go ahead. Hey, Robin. Did I unmute you well? No. No. Robin, there.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, great. Well, I'm enjoying everything that you're saying, even though I know you're tired of hearing yourself speak. But in the realm of unworthiness, of course, speaking now has me a little unnerved, and stepping into knowing what I know and being able to share it is huge. Mm-hmm. And as far as a musician is concerned, I always beat myself up and toss around whenever someone asks me to do something as a freelance artist, what to charge and what's too much, what's not enough. If I charge too much, I always worry about looking at me sideways thinking, well, so what is that going to get me? Sort of feeling. Uh-huh. But knowing that I am worth it, and I've, studied all my life, and then of course I know that I will always do a good job. So that part of the unworthiness is definitely an aspect that I deal with every time I get that call.
It's interesting because, see, I look at you and I say, you're a professional, you have years and years of education, and amazing, it'd be very easy for you to be able to say, oh, I've got this and I've got that and these letters behind my name and I can charge a certain amount. But I love hearing that doesn't necessarily happen. It's not just because you have more education or, a certain status that you don't feel unworthy sometimes.
No, not at all. In fact, I'm very humbled by what I do because I don't do it for money. Of course, I do it to make a living, but I don't do it for the money. I do it to make people happy. I do it to bring joy to their life. I do it for so many more reasons than just having a check at the end of the night. I mean, it's just not why I do the work, and I love what I do on top of it. So maybe that's a part of the unworthiness. I love it so much that I'm reluctant to charge what I should charge at some point in time. Yeah. And I do a lot of volunteer work, and I do give of myself greatly to different things and events. But when it comes to undervaluing myself, let me put it that way, that's probably where I'm most challenged, to look at the unworthiness aspect. And, I'm not thinking in terms of, well, I went to college for 10 years, or I went, or I've studied all my life, or I have all of these different experiences, both in the professional performing arena as well as teaching. I'm not always the first one to think in those terms because I'm very humbled that I have the opportunity and the ability to minister to people in that sense.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. So I know you do a lot of energy work. Do you find that doing energy work helps you with the unworthiness?
Well, actually, some of the energy work that I do, I find unworthiness that I'm effective in that area. Although, and sometimes I'll sit back and I go, wow, that really made a difference. This stuff is really pretty awesome. So I'm always wowed by realizing that we're not as small as we think we are. We are so much more capable and so much more powerful than we have no concept We really have no concept of it. And so the energy work and the healing work that I do, I always try to immerse that into my performances and into my playing, because I'm sure that there's somebody there. And I usually, when people speak to me after a performance, there's always someone that will say, you know, something brought me to tears, or it made me think of my son who passed, or reminded me of when I was a child and my mother used to play. I mean, I have so many different scenarios of people that have come up to me after performances, and I know that I touch their hearts. And for me, I'm not a sadist, but hearing the fact that I made them cry really kind of tells me I did my job.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you. I really appreciate you sharing that perspective. It's nice for other people to hear. There are normal people who are dealing with unworthiness just as much as
Well,
they are.
And I have to say, it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter if you're the checkout person at Publix. It doesn't matter if you're the deli slicer in Publix. It doesn't matter if you're the one cutting up the Christmas tree to bag and bring home. It really matters not what you do. It's in the intention that you do it. And there's a bigger purpose for all of us. And even in the mundane, if we can just see the spark and see how that it's a domino effect, and no matter what we do, it trickles down to every person we meet, no matter what you do for a living, no matter what capacity you serve. It's all in service.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I do want to let you guys know that I have an amazing assistant running here. Tonight, my husband keeps running back and forth with me, and he keeps leaving me these little notes and cards, and it's so awesome and fabulous. He's getting his exercise running back and forth in our house with all of this. So I do want to let you all know that I do not do this all by myself. So Eileen, let's see if we can unmute you and it's nice to know some things are normal. I've struggled with muting and unmuting. Hey, Eileen.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, I have my headphones on now. My computer is not playing nicely. The beatings is badly again. Following Robin gives me a certain sense of unworthiness because she is always so eloquent. I find a lot of unworthiness in my healing. I'm always sure that everyone is a better healer than I am. Everyone knows more than I do. And for me, unworthiness is, I think, the most insidious of all of the low frequencies. Mm-hmm. Because you'll read a post and you think, oh, that's beautiful. I could never have thought of that. Slap yourself. Of course you could if you actually had the energy to do it. But yeah, I do struggle with that piece of it, being sure that I'm really not quite as good as everyone else in the class or in the healing community. And also it's kind of an age thing. And I think you and I have talked about it before. 90% of the time I'm the oldest kid in the room. And it makes you feel a little bit different in an unworthy way. That you're, not quite as sharp or not quite as with it or any of those kind of things. So that's where I find it.
That's a really great point, because it's whatever your thing is, it's going to be the thing that you go to. If you're sitting in a room of 10 people, if you're the oldest in the room, you're like, oh, I'm just way too old to be hip and have this conversation. If you're the youngest person in the room, you could be the one that's in there going, no one's going to listen to me. I'm the youngest person in the room. Whatever it is will be your thing that pops up, and it probably pops up regularly, I would guess. Is that true, Eileen?
Yes. Yeah, it does. It does pop up on a regular basis. But, and I do my sapphire blue spirals, and I do all kinds of things. And normally I can catch myself right away and put it back in its box, but sometimes it just sneaks up on me and it just surprises me that it's there. Because, you know, I actually, intellectually, I know that I'm good at what I do when I do it, but there's always that little finger poking at you saying, yeah, maybe not so much.
And Eileen, just for the record, I think you're an amazing healer. And in fact, I was talking to Robin earlier, and she actually was telling me that you did some amazing healing on her yesterday. So just goes to show you that none of that unworthiness that we have is really truth.
Thank you.
You are welcome. Thank you. I appreciate you popping in. Okay, so I have had some questions pop up on the chat. Someone was asking me, how do you fix unworthiness? And I think that's a really interesting question. I guess it's the phrase of fixing unworthiness, because once again, unworthiness is a low frequency. It's like the other low frequencies that we have been talking about over the last couple of weeks. We have talked about anger, and we've talked about judgment, and we've talked about fear. And these we're talking about frequencies rather than emotions. So these frequencies exist in our body. And one of the things I would love to pass on to you all is the understanding and awareness that as a frequency, it is something that will just kind of, I think it might have been Eileen who said, rear its ugly head. It just sort of shows up. And when you are busy doing something, you're sitting watching television, you're reading a book, you're chatting with friends, and you suddenly find yourself feeling, I do want to use that word very specifically, you find yourself feeling unworthy, or having the thoughts in your head at the same time your friend is talking. You know, if you have those thoughts that say, gosh, I'm such a lousy friend. Why in the world would she be friends with me? I don't even understand. I don't have the right answers. I can't help her with this. If you find yourself having any of those kinds of conversations, what I'd like to encourage you to do is to catch yourself that, oh my gosh, there it is. That is some unworthiness that I want to fix. And it is an opportunity for you to start to see it in action, because I truly believe if you can see something, if you recognize it, if you can name it, you can start to see where it shows up in other places in your life. And the fixing part, the technique part about it is, one, being able to recognize it, and two, being able to ask for a healing. I am definitely one of those people who wants to make this as simple as possible. You know, there are a lot of people out there in the healing community that are like, you need to call on this angel for this and that angel for that. And, you know, you need to bring in this rock or this particular, you know, piece of information. And for me, I just get really overwhelmed with all that stuff. So I am always promoting simple, simple, simple. And so the very simplest of things is when you notice that unworthiness coming up, when you find yourself saying something silly like, why in the world would that person be a friend of mine? You can actually just simply say, can I have a healing on that? Now, if you hang out with me on a social basis, there are a lot of you here who do have that opportunity. You might hear me actually say, can I please have a healing on that? Because I will say it out loud to remind myself that I do not want to stay in that low frequency of unworthiness. If I'm with a group of people, I did not say it once out loud on the ship this weekend, but if I'm with a group of people that I don't know, I'm just thinking it in my head. Can I please have a healing on that? Where in the world did that come from? And it's really important. Watch how this ties together. It's really important that you know that you are worthy enough to ask for help, that there is no person on the planet who is too small, too insignificant to ask for help and ask it from Source, Creator, God. And, you know, I grew up with the idea that God was huge, was really big, didn't have time for me, was not going to listen to little old me. I didn't need to say my prayers because there was nobody listening to them. So if you are one of those people who has that thought in your head that says, you know, oh, sure, I'm going to go ahead and ask for a healing, but that's not going to make a difference. I am going to give you a healing on what I would call atheist energy, which says that energy isn't real and that you can't possibly ask for something. We're going to give you a healing on unworthiness. And I think it was Eileen that was talking about the spirals. And I'm actually seeing those rainbow spirals. If you've ever seen those really awesome lollipops, they're really long on a stick, and they're like rainbow spirals. That's a lot of what I see. It's almost like confetti coming down, these rainbow spirals, and it is absolutely beautiful. It's helping to alchemize those beliefs that energy isn't real. There's beliefs that you are not enough. The thought process that there is nobody listening to you when you ask for help. And I definitely want you to know that there is always somebody there to help when you are willing to ask. Always somebody there when you are willing to ask. So that's the technique. That's one of the things that you can do in order to start to shift that. Now, I also had somebody ask me about past lives. Does this come from past lives? You know, are these things carried over? And low frequencies of all kinds absolutely are carried over from previous lifetimes. There are some people on the call that have been like minor characters. I'm actually seeing minor characters. They're showing me like in the times of the royalty. This is like in the 15th century, the 14th century, the 15th century, that kind of stuff. The people who were, you know, the minor characters, like in a movie, or if you watch the TV show Reign or something like that, those people that you never knew what their names were in the TV show, maybe they're the people that, you know, grab the horse, or they're, you know, the soldiers that bite the proverbial bullet before in the show, and you never know who they are. A lot of us have been those minor characters in previous lifetimes. And so we have this thought process that like, we are not important. It is not important. You know, we could die and nobody would even notice that we were around. And so there is a lot of that is happening on the call tonight. There are a lot of people who somehow got the impression that they were the minor characters. And it is very definitely not the truth of anybody who is on this call. You are not a minor character. You have never been a minor character. You might feel like that you show up as a minor character in this lifetime, which is absolutely not the truth. Robin, I love that all lives matter. Absolutely. And so it's this thought. They're actually telling me I'm going to move into this conversation for you all to understand. It's this idea that we are unimportant, that if we are not in the limelight, if we do not have a certain number of followers, if we do not have the name recognition, that like somebody could mention our name and people would go, ooh, you know them, then we are the minor characters here on the planet. And so it's just feeding into more of that unworthiness. And so one of the messages that they want me to pass along to you is this idea that there are no minor characters. With a pregnant pause there. Okay, so here's the thing. When we were born, we were not born with as much unworthiness as we might think that we had. We were actually born, most of us, with this true sense of who we are, that we are capable of doing it all. We are capable of taking on the world, of knocking it out of the park every time we step up to bat. That was my baseball reference that I told you I was going to have. That we knew very clearly who we were when we came into this lifetime. And what has happened over our lifetime is that we were taught, or we were pressured into thinking that we were small. Every one of us has at least one person, if not many people, who showed up in our life to make us feel small, to make us think that we weren't capable. And I'm sure every single one of you can come up with the idea in your head, the thought in your head of like, oh yeah, I know exactly who she's talking about. She's talking about my aunt. She's talking about my mom. She's talking about my dad. She's talking about my brother or my sister. You know, I had a cousin once who did that. Every single one of us have had people in our lives. We've had teachers in our lives that did not want us to reach too high, to think too much, to absolutely be everything that we were here to be. And many of them, if we actually stopped and had a conversation with them, if we could go back and say, remember when you said this to me, and I just feel like that's not the truth, they wouldn't even remember it. They wouldn't even be able to claim it as their own. That it is something that is so ingrained in us that it's like, I cannot reach beyond this point, and I don't want you to reach beyond that point either. The image that they're giving me right now is the image of the jar with the lid on it, and I don't remember what kind of bugs it is, but if you put the bugs in the jar, when they first go in the jar, they're constantly hitting their heads against the top of the jar. But eventually what happens is that they learn that they cannot get out. No matter how many times they bump their head on the top of the lid, they're not going to be able to get out. And Molly is actually saying it is fleas. That works for me for this example. But eventually what happens is you can actually take the lid off of the jar and they will never jump out. They will never go higher than what they learned to do. And that is a lot of what we all have taken on being here on the planet. Whatever the lid was, whoever the lid was for you, the person who said, you can't jump any higher than this. You can't reach to any higher level than this right here. It has happened to all of us. But what they're saying is this is the time for us to know that there is no lid. There is no limit to what we can do. And so the way it's being shown to me is they're throwing tons of frequencies into that proverbial jar that each one of us has put ourselves into. They're putting a ton of truth and a ton of love and a ton of clarity into that jar and surrounding our body. If you could just imagine injecting, it's like all sorts of frequencies that are actually being injected. But if you could inject like some colored smoke maybe into a jar, and you could imagine that it would stay in there. It's like putting those kinds of frequencies in there for you to have more clarity and awareness that you are not here to stay in that jar. It's not like you're here to, jump to the moon and back. I don't want to scare any of you too much, for any of you to have this sense that, oh my gosh, I can't possibly do that. This is just a sense of who you really are here on the planet. And every single one of us is a divine spark. We are here with a purpose that is bigger than that jar. We are here for doing something that is totally amazing, that is very specific to us. And it is about us connecting with that and really knowing that we can do that thing. So I love that every single person on this call that will listen to this is being shown to me as like, and here's your gift. Here's your gift that you're here to do. You are here to absolutely make a difference in the world to your children. And you making a difference in the world to your children is going to affect everybody else on the planet in a way that you cannot even imagine. They're now showing me, they're going to just give me all these examples of the person who is walking through school, walking through high school, thinking all day long, today is the day that I am going to end my life. Today is the day that I'm just going to be finished. I'm tired of doing this. Nobody pays attention to me. No one ever looks at me or notices me. And how they're putting this together for me is that you, any one of you here, is that person who can turn around to that person who thinks they're not enough, who thinks that they don't make a difference and nobody is paying attention to them. And you can, with simple words, I'm here for you. Hey, is there something I can do for you? You know what, I really love the way you do those math problems, or I really love the way you write. That kind of thing. We can't underestimate the value of what we do on the everyday scale, on the scale of just saying hi to somebody and recognizing them and thanking them and realizing that they are here for their own purpose. And now I'm seeing all of the people that were on the ship. As I said, I was on a cruise this weekend, and that thing that they do on cruises, people love to say good morning. People love to say hello. And no matter where you go, you can strike up a conversation with somebody. And it's a different culture. You know, when you're on vacation, when you're on a cruise, there's a little bit of a different culture. But what they're saying to me is that that culture truly isn't unique to being on a cruise, that culture is actually exists everywhere. But once again, we've brought in these thoughts, this thinking that says, we can't make a difference. We are, you know, way too small. Who's going to notice me? That person looks busy. This person looks uninterested in having a conversation with me. And they want us to know that we are all making a difference just in whatever we do, in going to work and being the engineer, in going to work and managing the money, and going to work and helping somebody find the perfect gift for somebody else. Whatever it is you do, you are absolutely doing what you're here to do, and you are absolutely making a difference in the world. I particularly love that I don't have to be famous. I don't have to have name recognition. I don't have to have my name on a billboard in order for me to make a difference in the world. I can simply do it by talking to my next door neighbor or talking to the grocery clerk, to really just being who I am here in the world. So I love that particular part of all of this. Now, in the process of me having this conversation, there have been some crystal activations. There have been, each one of you has received an energetic crystal. It is, it's sort of a tetrahedron in shape, and each one of them is a different color, and each one of them is being activated. Wherever your soul is dictating where that crystal needs to be, it is being placed there. A lot of them are going into your 6th chakra. Some of them are going into the 7th chakra. There's a bunch of them that are going into the 5th, and then a whole bunch of them that are also going into the 4th. And they're actually now telling me everybody is getting another crystal going into their 4th, because that's really where we hold a lot of our beliefs around what we're here to do, how we're supposed to be, how we're supposed to show up. So these crystals are going into wherever your soul dictates. Isn't that a beautiful thing? I am not here to tell you where your soul wants it. And it is actually being activated and turning into a color that, a frequency that is appropriate for you. A lot of them are looking very pink, and that is the frequency of love, which is the great alchemizer. It alchemizes all sorts of things, all sorts of frequencies. But there are some that are turning blue, and it's that cerulean blue sort of. I'm still working on those whole color things and getting the right shades of colors. But if you actually can see the crystal, or you know where it has been placed, feel free to pop it into the chat, because then other people will know that I'm just not making this stuff up. But it's very cool that there are some crystal activations going in. There's also those rainbow spirals, and thanks, Eileen. The rose pink quartz going into her throat, and there's a whole bunch of them that are going into the third eye now. And there's actually, they're telling me now that they're putting a lot more gold into the third eye. So that's funny. Molly just said it was going into her third eye. Here's what happens to us when we are we start picturing ourselves in a certain way. We start thinking of ourselves as small and not enough, and not showing up fully in the way that we were meant to be. A lot of times that is actually showing up in our 6th chakra. That's to me always shows up like the place where all the video happens, all the movies that get played. And those movies, most of the time, are not the truth of us. Most of the time, the movies that we play are busy telling us that, we don't know what we're talking about, that we don't have the right degree, that, like Eileen was talking about, that we're too old, and then there's people who think that they're too young. Whatever that is playing is often playing right here in your third eye. And now they're actually showing me that there are a number of people who have them playing in an auditory form, like kind of playing in a digital format. I was about to say a cassette tape. Let me show my age. But it's like the recording is just playing over and over again and saying, you're not capable of doing that. You can't, what are you thinking? You can't do that kind of thing. So we're actually going to run violet flame through your clairaudient channels, and your clairaudient channels run throughout your entire body. So we're going to run some violet flame through those to help alchemize those low frequencies that are busy telling you that you are not enough from a hearing standpoint. I don't know how many of you are feel that that's how you show up, but that is certainly the case with a lot of you, where the chatter is just, you can't do that. Why do you think you could do that? I can't believe it. Don't you remember your mother said? All of those kinds of recordings and those kinds of tapes are playing, and we're going to move more of those out. We're also dropping in some gold ley lines. That is like so cool that we have these gold ley lines that are coming in, and a ley line is actually like a power line that has been pulled from wherever your soul asked it to be pulled from, anywhere in the cosmos. But it's a power line, and it is running from the top of your 7th chakra down through your 4th, down into your 3rd chakra. And wherever that line that we just dropped in is crossing some other lines, some other energetic lines that you have, we are actually activating those crystals. So there's a number of people that are having crystals activated in their throats, also activated in their hearts. It's really beautiful. It's a beautiful heart opening, that you are so much more than you think you are, that there is so much more to you than what you can possibly imagine. And one of the examples that I am getting now is the example of, I was like, how many times can I possibly say this about being on a ship? I knew very clearly that I was going to be doing some healing work, excuse me, on the ship that I was on this weekend. And I figured, I was running into some people, and the people that I kept running into over and over again, that must be some of the people that I am working on. But I then had this sense when we were getting back on the ship after being in the Bahamas of a huge wrapping paper kind of like going around the entire ship. And it would be almost like if it was a little toy boat and we were wrapping, something around it. That's kind of how I saw it when we were approaching the ship, not a boat, wrapping around it. And it was this rainbow wrapping paper that was going around all of it. And as I sat there kind of like in my mind's eye, seeing it and knowing it, I was like, wow, who in the world is doing that? And all of a sudden I heard, you are. And I was like, I can't possibly be doing that. That is freaking amazing. Like, that is just way too huge for me to be doing it. Remember, I was talking about being really small in comparison to the size of the ship. And I kind of shrugged it off and then just kept walking and, didn't give it much thought until a little while later that I had the opportunity to look over a whole bunch of people that were sitting by the pool. And once again, I heard, you're the one who is healing all of these people. And it's not that I'm amazing. It's not that I'm anything special. It's that they did that for me to bring it back to you, to be able to tell you guys that you are the exact same way. Absolutely 100%. There is nothing different between me and you, except I have been doing this a little longer. I'm a little farther down the road, but that's the only difference between us. So I love that I was given that example and could share that with you, and that you all can know that you are even more than you could possibly imagine. And when you have that next thought that says, oh my gosh, I think I did that, know that that's the truth of you. Just know that that's the truth of you. So I absolutely love that piece. I just know that that is the truth of you. So I actually can see that we are winding down here. Yay! I could do an entire hour. I want to thank Robin and Eileen and Molly, everybody who has popped in and sent me a message. I definitely want to thank my husband because he is freaking amazing. If you ever have an opportunity to get to meet him, take that chance. He is absolutely amazing. We are next week. Hopefully Lily and I will be together again, because it certainly is a whole lot more fun to do these calls with her. Next week is our 6th week in this series, Healing Humanity. We are going to be here December 11th, and we're doing shame, blame, and guilt. Hey, you want to have a fun conversation? Let's talk about shame, blame, and guilt. It is going to be amazing. The last week that we have, which is going to be on the 18th, right before Christmas, we are going to be talking about love. Love is the only truth. That is another frequency that is being wrapped around all of you. Love is the only truth. Love is the only truth. Love is the only truth. And that is allowing your body to take direction from the higher frequencies, not from the lower frequencies. And oh, don't we need more of that? So that's another one of my little side bonuses, is that you can repeat that to yourself. Love is the only truth. Repeat it 3 times and you will have some amazing healing going on. Let's see if I forgot anything at all. I said my thank yous. I promoted next week. I want to make sure all of you are back here. Share this recording with your friends. Of course, all of you who are on the recording will be getting a copy of it, and you can send it to other people. we show up on SoundCloud, we show up on YouTube, we're all over Facebook, and we absolutely love sharing our Tuesday nights with you. We hope that you will have a fabulous week and you will feel a little more worthy, feel a little more big, feel a little bit more. We love you. Thank you for showing up. Take care.